kind of question to you guys is, do you think it's a two-parter? Do you think they're done with any sizable moves? And are you satisfied with what they've done this offseason? Can you honestly be happy with the moves that they've made?
Scott Harris, I think it was Cody Saberhagen of The Athletic. Yes, it was, on the tweet, said that they are still not, they're still exploring things. They're not saying what they're doing. So I still think that there's could be one more move to be had. And I think, to me, there's going to be the ability to, what if somebody wants Erod real bad? What if there's a lot of possibilities here? But I don't look. You don't bring in something like Nick Watan and maybe not think about maybe trading Baez. Again, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm not saying that at all. The guy can play shortstop though, and you have Kreidler, you have Lipsius there, and now you have Verling. And again, I still think they're going to trade for another bat.
I'm intrigued by their offseason. I'll say that. I'm not necessarily like satisfied. But I'm not also. I didn't go into the offseason thinking that they were going to get a ton better. This is kind of what I expected. I expected some trades. I thought maybe they'd target a bigger free agent or two, and they didn't. So it's a little disappointing there. But yeah, mostly I'm kind of intrigued by the process of it all. To watch Scott Harris try to remake the roster to where you have. He's essentially trading any tradable relievers so far for depth of players who might be able to play every day, because the Tigers just didn't have, their everyday players were guys who were not everyday players. Your Harold Castro, Willie Castro, Victor Reyes, and Candelario was trending that way, unfortunately. So he's just trying to find a legitimate MLB lineup, and so he's gone out and got some interesting guys, and I just feel like that's going to be his MO for at least the first year or so, is going and finding a handful of guys like that and hoping one or two of them pop the way they did in San Francisco. And we talked about this with Mike Yastrzemski and Lamont Wade and Jason Vossler and all these other guys. And who's the dude they traded to the Mets? Darren Ruff showed up and it was good for like a year. They traded him for a ton and then he sucked. So I think that to me, it's just kind of interesting to see them at work, but it is also like, it's disappointing knowing before the season starts that they're not going to be any good. Now they could surprise us and be better than we think, but this is not a playoff team, and I don't think there's any chance they'll be a playoff team. So it's kind of a disappointing offseason to me in that regard. But if I'm being honest, I don't think there was anything they could have done to turn themselves into a playoff team this year.
Just kind of echo a little bit of what I said earlier and agree with a lot with Chris. I mean, the cupboard was pretty bare. I mean, name a bat that they had on the major league roster that they could market this winter. They didn't really have one. And prospect for prospect trades are rare. I mean, you just don't see them very often, right? So he didn't really have that as an avenue to pursue. I think he made a solid trade for Joe Jimenez, for Malloy. And, the Soto trade, I'm getting more and more comfortable with it. At first, I thought maybe I would have hung on to him and see what I could do later, because I like Soto maybe a little more than some people. It might be a personal bias, but I can see why they got three bats that potentially can play at the major league level, who are already there. They don't have to wait on them really if they have a good spring. So, is it a C off season? Yeah, C. That's about right, about average. There's no reason. There's nothing that kept, and this is broken record stuff, right? There's nothing that kept them from pursuing a premium shortstop. Nothing, other than they chose not to, and that's always going to be disappointing until they change.